What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Barking for Balance, the podcast where we talk about dogs, but we talk about anything else that's meant to teach, inspire, and entertain. Ow! For those of you that don't know me, I am Pat the Packman, dog behavior and rehabilitation specialist for Packman to the rescue. This is the podcast you want to be on if you want to learn the reality of dogs, if you want a dog that's happy, fulfilled, and well-behaved, if you want to learn how to make your dog happy, fulfilled, and well-behaved. This is the podcast for you. You want a relationship with your dog? This is where you want to learn. You want to learn how to train your dog? This is not the place for you. You want to learn how to train yourself in dog psychology, dog language, dog communication? This is the place to be. Thank you for joining. If you're joining us for the first time, and if you have joined us before, thank you for your support on Barking for Balance. And here we are all over the place. And yes, that's one of the things that happens on Barking for Balance. We speak Sicilian, and that's part of our thing. I love speaking Sicilian. And also, I love talking about food. And I don't know why I always do these podcasts quando hai un petito. I always do these podcasts when I'm starving. I need to eat before I do these. Maybe I'll talk less about food, but my head is always thinking about food. Those are all Sicilian delicacies, by the way. So if you want to know what those are, let me know. And if you know what those are, please let me know which one's your favorite. Because, like I said, I'm Barking for Balance. We talk about dogs and anything else that we're going to talk about. So the couple of topics that, and if you hear Hannibal in the background, he's flapping around. He's talking. He's in a talkative mood. So you may hear him in the background, and maybe I'll shut up a little bit. Yeah, I'll shut up and he'll talk. So he'll do the podcast for this episode. So this episode, I'm going to talk a little bit about homeless people and dogs. I'm also going to tell you how what I recommend when it comes to play biting, puppies that are play biting. I think it's a very important topic. There's a lot of misinformation out there, and it's something that is very important to know, and how to do that and fix it the right way, but also why is it happening in the first place. And then we're going to obviously probably dive into a bunch of other things that I'm just going to spur of the moment or pop in my head that are based on something, and we're going to talk about it. So that's how it's going to work. And before we kick that off, make sure that you subscribe to our podcast, Barking for Balance. You do not miss any cool episodes. You subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, Amazon, and of course, if you want to look at the beautiful face of mine, on YouTube. So make sure you hit those subscription buttons and don't miss another episode. So let's talk about play biting or homeless people and dogs. We're going to talk about both. So let's just flip a coin. Imaginary coin. Bam, there we go. Let's talk about homeless people and dogs first. The reason why I wanted to bring that up, I was having this conversation with somebody, happened to be my buddy Jordan, who, by the way, will be surprising us on a special guest on one of our Barking for Balance episodes very, very shortly. So not today, but on another episode. So we were having a discussion about homeless people and dogs, and there's obviously a lot of mixed feelings on the topic, and so I want to give you my input on the topic as far as what I think is a good thing when it comes to homeless people and dogs. So obviously these dogs are not homeless dogs. They belong to somebody, even though the person is homeless. Now, let's break this up a little bit. When it comes to homeless people, everybody perceives homeless people as being dirty, as being bums, alcoholics, druggies, all that kind of good stuff. That's not the case. Some people are just homeless because, they fell into hard times, and there's no drugs involved. They're just, financially going through some struggles, health-wise, whatever caused it. It's not necessarily something that was bad. Some people live in their cars, some people literally live on the streets, do shelters, whatever the case may be. And there's some of these people that truly love their dog so much they will not give them up. So I respect that tremendously, and I understand the dog lover side of it, that we feel bad for the dogs and blah 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 blah, and maybe they should find a better home and all that kind of good stuff. When I was during my time as a financial advisor, one of my my idols was Chris Gardner. And for those of you that don't know, Chris Gardner was basically the character from the movie The Pursuit of Happiness. Will Smith actually plays Chris Gardner, and I had no idea about Chris Gardner was until I saw the movie. And the reason why I saw the movie was because, I knew it was like this inspirational story. If I share like I did this for a living. So any kind of movie that came out that was related to that, I always wanted to see. So to make a very long story short, Chris Gardner, and also it came from his book, The Pursuit of Happiness, which if you haven't read it, it's a phenomenal book. You definitely want to check it out. The Pursuit of Happiness with Chris Gardner from Chris Gardner. And the movie, which was the first time that I learned about his life. Really simple. Was he was a guy who was struggling financially, and basically he ended up becoming homeless. But he became homeless with his son. And when he wrote the book, but more importantly when they made the movie, the one thing that he wanted more than anything was to showcase the fact that he would not leave his son. And so he was on the streets, and he would go to these shelters, and he would go back and forth, but basically he was financially strapped, and he ended up being homeless, living on the streets with a son. There's a scene that is just it just if I think about it, I'm gonna start crying myself, where he's actually in the bathroom of a bus station, or train station. And it's a bus station actually. And I think it's in San Francisco, and he's sleeping with his son in the bathroom of a bus station. And then when you see it visually, it's just heartbreaking. And he's crying and the whole bit, and your heart goes out to him. And so there's two sides of this whole thing. People would say, oh, she should have gotten help, send this kid somewhere else. And you know the fact of the matter is that he chose to keep his son with him because he felt, and I mean, I personally agree with that. He felt that he was the best one to raise his son. I commend that. Um, he fought, he busted his ass, he worked his ass off, got a job as a stockbroker. And, we fast forward, and we take it one, number of years later, guy's a multimillionaire, maybe even a billionaire. I'm not exactly sure, but money's not an issue anymore. And he busted his ass to get there. And so I respect that guy tremendously. And I remember I used to have a picture of him, the real Chris Gardner, on my desk. I used to hang it right on the wall because I felt so inspired by that whole story, not just the fact that he became so rich. Na una venenta che fare solo chi soid, because as much as back then, yeah, money was like the major um, thing that I was after, but it was more just the inspirational story that I just thought it was amazing. So the whole thing with like homeless people and dogs, I have witnessed and seen many homeless dogs, homeless people with dogs. And the one thing that I always tell everybody is it's remarkable how happy, fulfilled, and well behaved these dogs are. And it's funny to me because nobody trained them. They're just calm. I mean, they're if you see them ever, like, a homeless person just pushing their cart, and the dog is off leash in the major cities, just walking right next to him or her. They're on the street, sitting down on the sidewalk. People are walking by with dogs, people off leash, just land by their human side. It's a relationship that is so um solid, but it's also a state of mind that a dog is in that really tells you something. And it's like, again, I was having this discussion about it, and of course everybody's heart goes out, well, the poor dog and this and that and the other thing. And the thing was that it became like more of a material thing. So you would think, because my opinion was, I don't have a problem with a homeless person with their dog, because again, that dog is calm, that dog is happy, that dog is fine. you know yes, they don't have a warm bed to sleep in. They don't have all the fancy toys. They don't have all these great collars. But as long as the dog is not malnourished, as long as the dog is not sick, I don't see a problem with it. And based on what I've seen firsthand, Those dogs don't have any physical issues, and they definitely don't have any psychological issues. A te sta cane è a posto. So the question becomes, why is that the case? I mean, these people that spend thousands upon thousands of dollars to teach their dogs to walk off leash, to teach their dogs to be calm around people in the city with off leash. I mean, these homeless people should be dog trainers. So the first thought in my mind when it comes to that is, how's that possible? What are these people doing to quote unquote train these dogs to be so calm and so well behaved when so many other people are struggling? And the reason is simple. It's what I practice and preach and preach and preach about all the time. And that is to make sure that you fulfill your dog mentally and physically by providing a work, rules, and then reward formula. But everybody perceives that the reward component is about having a bed, having toys, all this stuff. And so the challenge that I say is, you feel bad for this dog. Okay. You take the dog away from the homeless person because you feel bad for the dog. But yet this dog is perfect. No problem. Adesso lava a posto. You bring this dog into a new home, and now these humans who love their dog, very nice people, caring, sweet, kind, have all good intentions. But all of a sudden, this dog that was previously fine, senza probleme, all of a sudden now this dog is developing issues. This dog is anxious. This dog is aggressive. This dog is fearful. This dog is just excited, bouncing off the walls. Now this dog is no longer calm and relaxed and fulfilled. This dog has psychological issues, such as the anxiety and the fear and all that kind of stuff. And the first thing that people think about is, well, that's because he was homeless, and all the trauma that was created to him and caused by him, and this is the aftermath. I don't think so. No, that's not the case. That is not the case. The reason why is because the homeless guy basically was treating him as a dog. He was respecting his dogness, and he was providing him the primal stuff that a dog requires. All the other things that we did do is overkill. Listen, I provide my dogs I mean, they have 3 beds. I have 2 dogs and they have 3 beds. Just FYI. Their beds are state of the art. I think their beds are better than mine. Hanno letto meglio mio, ma I should sleep in their beds. That's how great their beds are. They have tons of toys. They have 9, I'll repeat that, 9 containers filled with treats. 9 different treats. Okay. So, yes, do they spoil them? To a certain extent, yes. Is it necessary? No. Because if I could provide it, great. But if I couldn't provide it, that's okay too, because our relationship, the love that we have for each other, the love they have for me is based not on that. It's based on what I'm providing them from a mental perspective, from a dog perspective. And from that perspective, it's all about establishing calm state of mind, because most people overload their dog with attention. Tutta attenzione. The dog has to be overloaded with attention. We're constantly triggering their excitement. We walk in the door. Hey, buddy, did you miss me? Oh my God, you're so cute. Come here, let's play. Let's go. And you're overloading that dog with excitement. You're overloading that dog with attention. Now, is there something wrong with that? Of course not. Of course not. That's part of the relationship. But again, it's part of the relationship, So when we talk about balance, barking for balance, o vede como funciona. Oh, barking for balance is all about balance, because that's what our life should be about, but it's also what their life is about. So our job is to provide them with balance, which is the work, mental and physical, rules, which is directions, boundaries, and limits, and then rewards. But if we overload one more than the other, or we remove one or both or 2 of the other, everything's out of whack. We're out of balance. Okay. So when a homeless person has a dog, they're just chilling. They give their dog some affection, not overkill. Is that a bad thing? Of course not. You know, it's everything is in proportion. Then they go walk to wherever they have to go, right? And the dog follows along, and then they sit down together and they just hang out, they eat, whatever it is that they're doing that makes a dog happy. I mean, if you think about this logically, right? How many of you guys know of a dog that as soon as you give him a bath, or even like whenever, okay, they go run around and they roll around in mud, roll around in dirt, right? How many of you know, as literally as soon as you give them a bath, they're out there, they roll around in mud, roll around in dirt. That's what dogs do. And you look at them and like, nobody feels bad. Oh, the dog is so dirty. The dog must be. No, no, the dog is fine. That's what they do. So all the stuff that we provide, is it necessary? No, it's not necessary. But it's something that if we are able to provide it, great. But it doesn't make a difference in their life. It makes a difference in our life because we perceive that as we love our dog even more. Does that make sense? It's a very simple situation. And the best way I could explain it is if you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, and somebody else steps in and starts buying them iPhones and jewelry and leather jackets and fancy dinners and all sorts of other shit, are they going to leave you because this person is buying them and providing something that maybe you can't? Or is that person going to stay with you and say, well, fun, cool over there. Go to hell with all that stuff. Because this person that I'm with now, even though they're not providing me all that material stuff, hear it? All that material stuff, they make me happy. They fulfill my needs. Now, if you are dealing with una de Troia che ci piace nidanare, one of those girls or boys that likes material things or money, then yeah, that's what they need from you to stay with you because that's what they require. Dogs aren't like that. Dogs don't require material things. They just require to be happy, fulfilled, and well behaved through a calm and firm human. That's it. That's all they require. The love you feel is inside. It's not outside. So if your perception is that, in order to make someone happy, you have to buy them stuff and provide them stuff, then somebody else is going to come along that's going to provide them more than you can. You're screwed. Think about it, right? So again, it goes back to if you're in a relationship with somebody and somebody else comes along that's going to provide them the material things, if that stuff is important for that person to be happy and fulfilled, then yeah, you're gone. They're gone. They're going to be leaving you and going for that person. But if what's important to them, which for most people is the case, is for them to be happy and for you to fulfill their needs, emotional, mental, spiritual, then they're not going anywhere. Does that make sense? So if you feel that providing toys and beds and all this kind of stuff is necessary for a dog to be happy or to love you, you're fooling yourself. Una vero niente. It's not true at all. It's normal to want to give. It's normal to feel bad. Of course, absolutely. I never feel bad for the dog. And here's what I find interesting. Ora te enseño una cosa. Now I'm going to teach you something about how the world operates nowadays. During these discussions, nobody ever commented about what about the homeless guy? I mean, I understand that the perception is, well, he did this to himself. He go get up and go find a job, or, you're a druggie, you're an alcoholic. Again, yes, sometimes that's the case. Most of the time, those are not the people that are going to have a dog with them because shit, what do they give a shit about a dog? Unless that dog is providing them like the attention and people give money. Otherwise, they don't care about that. But the people that actually have the dogs are the ones that are in like a sound state. And the dog is reflecting that. Think about it. I mean, fa senso. The dog is reflecting the human state. That's just how it works. So when I see a dog that's in a calm, submissive state, I'm thinking that human, even though he doesn't have a house or a car or whatever, he's in a good state. And that is what a dog needs, people. Ascolta, te. Listen, it boils down to the simple principle that for a dog to be happy, okay, for a dog to be fulfilled, it simply boils down to having a human or a pack around them. It doesn't have to be a human. It could be another dog. It could be a cat or whatever. But in this case, it's the human that is in a good state, calm, firm, confident, in control, even though he doesn't have a house. Because in America, that's how we perceive a person successful. Well, look at his house. He must be rich. Okay, great. It doesn't mean that he's psychologically sound. It doesn't mean he's happy either, or she. It doesn't mean that. An individual that has all this stuff doesn't mean that they're happy. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't mean that they're fulfilled. But that's how we perceive it. Well, he's got all this money. I mean, think about it. How many rich, spoiled, overloaded people do we know? And they're committing suicide. They're just depressed. Why is that? Think about it. The material stuff doesn't mean anything to us unless we live a life of balance. Understand? So again, going back to what I was saying before, when it comes to the situation with the dogs, I'm sorry, with the homeless person, nobody ever says anything about, well, how can we help? Oh, povero cristiano, ci un piatti pasta. We feed him, give him money, clean him up, finding him a job. Nobody cares about that. They care about the dog. Here's the thing, though. If you cared about the dog, you would take care of his owner, who clearly cares about that dog. That's why he still keeps him around. You know, they have a bond. They're a relationship. They're a family. Why split up that family? You have no right to do that. You know what I'm saying? That dog is in a good state of mind. And then you bring him to your house and you're thinking you're doing a great job. You're spoiling him. Then why do so many people that spoiled their dogs have dogs with problems? It's not all genetic, guys. It's not all about genetics. It's not all about, trauma. It's not all about past history and all that crap. It's what you are doing in the present or the past, that created those issues. And sometimes it doesn't mean that you were mean about it. No, not at all. Sometimes it's because you love too much and want to give too much, but you're giving too much, but you're not giving everything. You're giving a portion, what you think is necessary, but it's really not everything that's necessary for your dog. Understand? Megabish or megabish. Oh, because at the end of the day, what we should care about more than anything is a dog's state of mind. I mean, think about it. That's more important than anything else. A dog's state of mind, for them to be calm and submissive, is how we keep them from avoiding aggression, fear, anxiety, nervousness, all the crap that we have a problem with, including what I'm going to talk about in a second, which is the play biting and what causes the play biting. Okay. So nobody ever talks about the homeless guy. Well, how can we help this guy? How can we help him keep his dog? What can we do to help this guy? Period. Nobody gives a shit about that. Fuck the homeless guy. Come on. Let's look at the whole picture here, people. Let's look at the whole picture. When I think about, again, Chris Gardner, and having read his book, which obviously is much more details than the movie, and some of it is a lot, extended in different areas. But this guy did not want to give up his son. And he's sleeping in a freaking bus station bathroom with his little toddler. How many people would do that? That's love, man. That's freaking love. So when you see a homeless person with a dog, they love the dog. But here's the thing too. You know who else loves? The dog loves that person. That's why, with thousands of people walking by them all the time, that dog is standing right next to his human. Think about that for a second. Why is he standing next to his human? Oh, well, I know what people are going to say. Well, that's because dogs are loyal. That's because maybe he beats them. No, it's because that dog and that human have a bond. They have a relationship. That guy, even though he doesn't have a house or a car, fancy clothes and Apple watches and Rolexes and gold chains and Gucci, you know what he provides? He provides his dog happiness. He provides his dog calmness. And that dog is happy. That dog's fulfilled. That's why he's just sitting there chilling, calm, and relaxed. And guess what? He's not on medication. Because that's what people do. They have a dog that's crazy, bouncing off the walls. Oh my God, this dog is just crazy. I don't know what's wrong with him. It wasn't me. I didn't do anything. No, no c'ente sei tu. And everybody's innocent. You know what I'm saying? And then we put him on medication. Well, here's a guy, doesn't have a house, no bed, sleeps on the ground. His dog is calm, well behaved, fulfilled, off leash, no medication. You know what? I would take some lessons off of this homeless guy or girl and ask him, how did you do that? Yeah, that's how it works. Spoiling is a great thing, guys, but spoiling is only great if it's in proportion with everything else. If you do everything else as well, spoil your dog's rotten. Like I said, are socks and pepper spoiled? Absolutely. I could provide that. I can do it. I choose to do it. Do I have to do it? No. Do they want me to do it? No. Do they need me to do it? No. I choose to do it. 9 freaking containers. 9 contenitore rivascuota. 9 containers of treats, toys, memory foam beds. You know what I'm saying? And 9 times out of 10, you know where they're sleeping right now while I'm shooting this podcast? Fox is right on the ground, right next to me on the side. And you know where Pepper is? Right underneath my desk. You know where their beds are? Over there, and over here. And they're sleeping on the floor. What does that tell you? Nice and calm, nice and relaxed. Argue with it all you want, guys. I care about the brain of the dog. I care about the state of mind of the dog. And if you really cared about that dog as much as you claim or as much as you want to, look at the human. Help the human. Because if you help the human, then that dog goes into a nice home. You don't split up the family and everybody's happy. Fix the source. That's why here at Packman to the Rescue, we train people, not dogs. Because people are the driving force, number one, to save the dog's life physically, but they're also the driving force to make sure that their dog is sound mentally and sound emotionally. So that's why we train people. And this is similar to that. Granted, we're not training this person on how to be with their dog because this guy already knows, is instinctual about it. You know, so let's help him get on his feet. Let's help him get a job. Let's clean himself up. You know what I'm saying? Get into a house, an apartment, something small, like Chris Gardner did. Small apartment, grew it bigger. Now he probably lives in like a goddamn looking dude now. Well, he probably has like 8 castles, that guy. You know what I'm saying? But he busted his ass and he came from nothing and he remembers that. And he took care of his son, man. He didn't abandon his son. He took care of him. He fed his ass. He cleaned him up. I don't know. This is my opinion. So when I see a homeless person with a dog, nobody cares about the homeless guy. They don't feel bad for the homeless guy, but they care. They feel bad for the dog. And here's the dog just chilling on the ground, calm, relaxed. Why do you feel bad for that? That dog is mentally and emotionally in healthy condition. More than most people that have mansions and all that crap. Not just the dogs, but the people too are mentally and emotionally messed up. So anyway, that's just my 2 cents on it. Love to hear your feedback on that. And, you know, that's sometimes that happens to people, unfortunately, when it comes to, you know, falling on hard times. And again, going back to Chris Gardner, like, you know, sometimes, you know, people fall on hard times and then they just come back. And there's there's an old saying that is, you know, sometimes you have to go through a minor setback, but you come out. How is it? You have to go through a minor setback that sets you up for a major comeback. You know, you go through a minor setback that sets you up for a major comeback. I mean, that's kind of like how life works. And again, Chris Gardner is, you know, perfect example of that. You know, went through some tough times and now major comeback. And I mean, that's a lesson that we could learn in our own lives, is that sometimes when we go through some setbacks, whatever the case may be with them, they're opportunities. They're just, you know, when we look at it, you know, this is a tough time, this is a setback, but you know what? It's setting us up for a major comeback. And maybe that's the way that we could help some of these homeless people with their dogs, is not by taking their dogs away. That's just going to screw up them, but it's also going to screw up the dogs too. You know, dogs are happy. Leave them together. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, the dog is in a good state of mind. That's what I care about. I care about the dog's state of mind more than anything, because quite frankly, if you think about this logically, that's really what happiness is about. That's what life is. The Pursuit of Happiness is such a great title because it's about happiness. I mean, everything in life is not about stuff. It's about happiness. Now, again, to some people, the gold diggers, that's what matters to them, is the stuff. But feel like all of the stuff. That's what they want. That's why they hang out with people that just spoil them rotten and bite them shit, this and that and the other thing. That's not a long-lasting situation. It's really not. Happiness is mental. Happiness is in the head. It's achieved by dogs who don't have anything, not even a house, and they're nice and calm and relaxed. We should learn from that, because at the end of the day, is there anything better than just being in a state of mind where you're nice and calm and relaxed and you have no worries at all? You know, that's why we go on vacations. We lie on the beach, we lie in a chair, and we're just not a worry in the world. You know, then we come back to the real world and all the worries come back. But anyway, so yeah, let's help the people. homeless people, whatever the case may be. Let's, let's help those people get back on their feet. So this way we're not have to split the dogs up. And don't feel bad for the dogs. Feel bad for the human. Human is probably like, shit, I want to be in a house. The dog's like, whatever. I like being outdoors. Think about it. How many dogs love being outdoors more than being indoors? So, you know what I mean? Anyway, he said, I'm open on it. That's my opinion on the whole matter. That's the situation there. So anyway, but yeah, minor setback for major comeback, guys. And I mean, I learned the lessons when I was going to church. I talk about God all the time, and that's how I see these things. I see how God sometimes doesn't necessarily create these setbacks. It's just part of life, but he helps us ride through these setbacks, which eventually, like I said, become major comebacks in whatever the situation is. And, growing up Catholic, Italian, and there was a time when speaking of church, there was a little bit of funny story here really quick, but when I was going, I used to go to church, every Sunday, when in a while back. And now I'm not really into the whole religious mass type stuff. I'm more spiritual. I talk to God like I talk to like a normal person and thank him every single day. We talk multiple times a day. But at one point I was heavily involved in the Catholic organization, going to church every Sunday. I was involved in a lot of church groups. And so when I was going through some stuff, I met one of the security guards at the office building that I was working at. That's where I discovered the principles of faith and patience, and I talk about that on a previous podcast. If you want to know more, please let me know, and we'll go more in depth about faith and patience. So, and he was a guy who was heavily into the spiritual world, about his church and whatever. And so, because he became kind of like my spiritual advisor and he was helping me through this difficult period, I started going to his church. And it was at first it was cool because when it was going to his church, it was smaller congregation. It was more like a support group than anything else. We sat around, talked about our life, our problems, whatever, used the Bible to guide us through it. I felt good about it. It felt like we were talking to friends, and it wasn't like a religious Catholic mass, which was very robotic, very systematic. It didn't really communicate any kind of messages, you know what I mean? So it was more like an obligation more than anything else. So this was different. This was more like we're just hanging out with some people and just chit-chatting. And then he moved to a different church, a much larger church, and that congregation ended up being that system, that setup was a little bit different than what I was used to. So there was a couple of things that kind of freaked me out. The first one was when people would start talking in tongues. And it was really weird. And all of a sudden, like the first time it happened was like a lady that was like right next to me to my right hand side. And she just started, and and I don't mean any disrespect by that, but I thought she was having bedamache. I thought she was like pissed off about something. She was having like a stroke or whatever. I don't know. She was just freaked me out. So just like all hands in the air, moving around. Like, bedamache santissima. So yeah, mi fece cantare. It scared the shit out of me. And then another time was when the minister, whatever he was, priest, whatever, he would put his hand on people's foreheads and they would like start convulsing and just shaking around. And would just dive on the floor and they'd be like having like strokes and seizures and shit. And I'm like, I thought he was gonna like do the same like voodoo shit to me. And when he did it to me, he touched my head, nothing actually happened. So I'm not sure. But this stuff was just like really freaky and people like running around. It just became really, really, really weird. And so I kind of like that's when actually I stopped with any kind of formal church mass type deals, and that was it, because anyway. So just a little bit of information. Like I said, barking for balance, we talk about anything. So that's what happens. But yeah, so going on to the topic of play biting and how we're going to address that. So here's the thing. Before I get into that, make sure you subscribe. Just throw that in there every once in a while. Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google, Amazon, and YouTube. Hit those subscribe buttons, guys. Don't miss Barking for Balance. I am Pat the Packman. Make sure you hit them. Anyway, play biting. So first and foremost, there's the myth. People think that play biting happens because the dog is teething. No. The reason why I play buddy, una berniente, una berniente. The reason why a puppy, we're talking about puppies. This is all puppy related. So puppies are biting you for two reasons. Number one is because that's what dogs do, right? They use their mouth to do it. That's why we buy them these fancy toys, right? They chew for their whole lives. They use their mouth their whole lives. So our job is to teach them what they can chew and what they can't chew. That's why they'll chew on shoes, they'll chew on pillows, they'll chew on furniture. That's what dogs do. But we have to teach them this is acceptable and this is not acceptable. Because at the end of the day, if you think about this logically, everything we buy them toy wise is made out of the same stuff that's just everyday things: pillows, cell phones, remote controls. It's all the same material as their toys. It's all plastic and cloth, and it's all the same shit. So if you don't, we have to teach them what is acceptable to chew on and what is not. And human skin, human, body parts, it's not acceptable. So our job is to teach them what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. The other part of it is, why are they play biting? And the reason is simple. They're excited. You've heard me say this a million times. And if you haven't, well, this is the first time. Excitement is the root of all evil, because every single problem under the sun, or at least 99% of them, stem from excitement. And that's the problem, what we were talking about before, that people trigger all this excitement thinking that they're doing the right thing, and then dogs become whatever it is that they become. But it all stems from the excitement factor. So when we have a puppy who is in the learning stage, growing, whatever the case may be, that's what we're doing, is we have to understand that the excitement level has to be controlled. Now, I have ways on how we could deal with the excitement levels. And if you would like to know more about that, let me know, and how to raise a perfect puppy and the systems and all that kind of stuff. Please let me know. And we could talk about that more in depth on a separate podcast. We also have some videos on YouTube if you're curious about that as well. But as far as like the play biting itself, there's a lot of myths. What to do, and I'm just going to go into like a few of them just for the hell of it. This is the dog training crap that I always talk about. Number one, it says when a puppy bites you, just yelp, scream, holler, whatever the hell these people are saying. What they're exactly, basically just scream. Okay. That is absurd, because yes, it'll stop them for a second, but they're going to look at it like, this is fun, because you're showing them that you're weak. You're showing them that it's working. You're showing them that it has an impact. So that stuff does not work. And it may work for a second, like the cans of coins and all that crap that people use, that people are Googling, and this is what dog trainers are teaching. It doesn't work. It'll work for a second, maybe work for a little bit, but it won't work permanently. Trust me. Okay. So don't do the yelping. Una baiada como un cane. No. The other thing that is, and this is the real one that really aggravates me, is they'll say, when your dog bites you, you give him a toy and you say, here, Fluffy, you could chew on this instead. Oh, bedamache. No, what you just did by doing so is you just rewarded your dog from biting you. You just said to your dog, thank you for biting me. Here's a toy. Okay, that's what you did. So understanding the do's and the why, understanding the what not to do's. So what do? Here's what I like to do. It's very simple. Is you have to capture the moment that the dog is doing something different or something that you want to change. So in other words, dogs associate behaviors or activities with the state of mind that they're in at that moment. Therefore, if they're biting you, and let's say you're playing or you're petting them, because this is what happens. You're giving your dog affection, you're petting them, or you're roughhousing, you're playing with them, whatever the case may be. And then all of a sudden they start biting you. That's because you escalated the excitement level. So let's just say you're playing and you're roughhousing. And then what you do is you just stop. You stop. You're petting, you stop. Okay. So now your dog's gonna be like, what the hell? I thought you wanted me to be excited. That's what you were saying. No. Okay. And now they calm down. Now the split second that they calm down, guess what you do? You go right back to petting, or you go right back to playing. Okay. And you're petting and you're playing. Now the key to this whole thing is you have to control the escalation. The reason why is because if they're playing with you and the escalation's climbing, as soon as at some point they're going to explode, and now they're biting. So what most of the time happens, even if you apply this and you stop petting or playing, they're still coming at you because the intensity is just too high. Okay. So you have to stop petting or playing at the first signs of excitement, as soon as it starts to escalate. So this way it's easier for it to come down. Make sense? Megabish or megabish. Oh, so as soon as you start to see the excitement climbing, you shut it down, right? So you're roughhousing, you're playing it, not biting, boom. As soon as you feel those teeth hit the skin, bam, you stop. So you're taking away their reward. You're taking away what it is that they want, which is the affection or the playing. So now, if your timing is right, that as soon as you feel those teeth on your skin, you stop. And then as soon as they calm down for a split second, you resume. If you're consistent with it and you're also timing it perfectly, the brain of a dog is going to start to say, what's happening that here we're playing and you're petting me and then you're stopping, but then over here you're petting again and we're playing again. Like why is that? What's the difference? What's going on? And the brain is working, the brain is processing it. If you recall what we were talking about before, the work, rules, and then reward formula, that, my friends, is the formula. You see how it works? Something so simple as play biting, work, rules, and then reward all in one. So the brain is working, the brain is thinking. And so that means that they're also draining energy. Veire cómo funciona. Draining energy, because mental activity is just as good as physical. So they're draining energy, they're working, right? And then you're teaching them the rules, which is if you want to play or get affection, you have to not have your teeth on me, right? That's how you teach the rules. And then the reward is what? Affection, attention, or whatever it is. Okay, that makes sense? So the brain is working. The rule is don't bite me. The reward is play or affection. Magic formula. Ah, vedi come funciona. Ascolta, I told you, if you want to learn how to have a relationship, if you want to learn how to have a dog that's happy, fulfilled, and well behaved, barking for balance is the way to know about it. Pat the Packman, that's how it works. You see what I'm saying? Okay. Not complicated, right? It's not complicated at all. It's reality. It's how dogs do it. Simple. Okay. So that's how it works. You're petting, you're playing, you're roughhousing, you feel the teeth on the skin, bam, you stop. Calm down, dog, bam, we go right back there. Whoop, that's enough. And that's the repetition of it. So now the dog's going to process, oh, so if I want you to pet me, if I want you to play, then all I have to do is just be calm. I just have to keep my teeth off of you. Absolutely. That's how it works. Does that mean that you can't get that excitement going? Of course you can. But you have to understand where that excitement's going to lead. Okay. So your job is to control it. So I always say that excitement's like a light switch with a dimmer on it. You turn it on or off, you control the intensity. And that's what we're describing right here. Fa senso? Megabish. Oh, that's important. So something as simple as play biting, that's how it works. All this doesn't work. That is how you do it. It's very simple, not complicated at all. So if you have any questions on that, please let me know. I would love to hear your input, because I know that I have taught these techniques to many people and it's worked. Even the ones that were like using the treats and all the other stuff and the intensity is really high, it's really simple. And you have to remember, what do I always tell you? You got to learn to be calm, because sometimes while you're teaching, it's easy for us to lose our patience, but that shows your dog that you can't be trusted. You quit too easily. You get frustrated too quickly, calm, consistent across the board. No matter what's going on around you, your dog's going to trust and respect you with no problems. Then you have a dog that's happy, fulfilled, and well behaved. That's the magic formula. You know what I'm saying? That's what we want. Not a well-trained dog. Every dog's well-trained. I mean, tell me one dog that's been put down or sent back because they didn't know how to sit, stay, or lay down. You understand? The state of mind is key. Let's focus on the brain, not the body. Okay? Because that's what people do. They're biting. Sit, sit, sit. Okay, here's a cookie. Okay. And then the dog's like, oh, okay, that's cool. That means you want me to bite you. That's the facts. Anyway. Dog training crap. The dog training crap. Anyway, all right. So any questions on that, please let me know. I would love to hear some feedback, and I want you to try those techniques out and let me know what your experience is, and then get back to me on that. And I think that's it for today, guys. I'm getting hungry. I'm always hungry. I don't understand. I have like a tapeworm. I'm always hungry, but I'm Italian, so I guess that comes with the territory, right? So anyway, so hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Barking for Balance. Make sure you subscribe to those platforms so you never miss out. Any topics you want me to cover, anything you want to know, I'm here. Fatemelo sapere e io vorrei ciò che volete sapere. That's Barking for Balance. I am Pat the Packman. Guys, hope you enjoyed this episode. Catch you guys next time. Peace out.